You're listening to the Brilliant Breakthroughs podcast with your host, Maggie Mogan.
Hi, small business owners. Welcome to the Brilliant Breakthroughs podcast, where we focus on creating brilliant breakthroughs for the small business owner. And FYI, this is also the name of the #1 Amazon bestseller book for small business and entrepreneurship. The good news is you can find this book in paperback as well as ebook form. Just so you know which one it is on Amazon, type in Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner, and our subtitle is Fresh Perspectives on Profitability, People, Productivity, and Finding Peace in Your Business. So I want to say hello, rock stars. My name is Maggie Mogan, and I'm the host for today, also the creator of that #1 best-selling annual business book series, Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner, and sort of a #1 best-selling business author, along with the gent we're going to be introducing in a moment. I'm a master business coach by day and night, and I help small business owners transform their businesses to shine rather brightly. So today's conversation is with Clive Extence, a #1 let me get this right, #1 best-selling business author from the 2018 book in our series. And to clarify for everyone, that's the book with the emerald green cover on it. So I want to say, wow, we're really excited because Clive is here today to talk to us about your business's performance, especially about people. So why don't we see what this brilliant practicing expert has to share with us today? Welcome, Clive.
Hi, Maggie.
Hi, Maggie. That's all you got?
That's all I've got.
And I know why, because he's focused on where we're going next.
That's right, I am. You asked the last time to think of some things I wanted to discuss that I did not bring out in the chapter. It's all Management 101 in our text. And some of the things we talked about the last time you and I discussed was the two business concepts. Actually, it's the management concept of MBWA. And then I asked you if you knew about the other MBWA. And I think you remembered the first one, MBWA. I think most people understand that one or recognize it. They've addressed it at some point in their management careers, and that's, of course, management by walking around.
Right.
And it's a great management tool. Remember, we talked about this the last time, too. All these tools that we read about and we practice, they're all great management tools, or they're not. And it all depends on how we treat them and the respect we give them and the tenacity we apply to them, because too often we apply things and then we give up because they don't work. And then they get whatever that is, MBWA in this particular case. If it doesn't work for you once or twice, well, then you give up on it, forgetting all the research that went into why it was such a great idea. Management by walking around is a great idea. You go and talk to people, you invest in people, you invest your time in the people that are working for you, that are working with you, and you find out about them personally. And there's a whole host of other research that talks about why that improves productivity when you find out about the person and not just their job. And we talked about, I think, that in one of our other sessions, the Johari window. And maybe that's something we can talk about the next time we have a podcast.
Ooh,
But
I think that would be great.
Yeah, it addresses MBWA, management by walking around. As you go and talk to people, you find out about that. And you find out about what's going on in their personal lives. Because I always used to love that one, that dogmatic, don't bring your personal life to work and don't take your work home with you. Well, how many of us in reality really do that? I mean, we all there's no way not to do that. I have yet to find people that, even well-intentioned people that do that well. We all take our work home with us. We all bring our family lives, whatever's going on, to work. We're human beings. And as
Right.
soon as management wakes up to that and addresses it, and it does become part of your day-to-day business life, then you can manage it better. So that's what management by walking around, I think, provides. It gives you an opportunity to learn about your people and understand a little bit more about what motivates them. That's, after all, what we're going to talk about next is what
Okay, well,
motivates.
hold on. Before we go anywhere, I want
No,
to
no, I'll go fast.
I want to slow this conversation down just a little bit
You bet.
because what you said is so practical, and I'm sure our listeners are going, "Yep, yeah, totally, I'm with you," but they're not absorbing it yet. Okay,
That's right.
and I think what you talk about when you say management by walking around, talk to people, invest your time in them, build the relationship, because the research validates if they feel valued. You didn't say this, but this is what I know you would add. If they feel
Yeah.
valued, they're going to improve their productivity, and the business will become more profitable because of that,
They
right?
will be a better team. They will be a better team member.
Right. And it's about being human in a workspace, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I lived through too much of a management style where don't bring your work home with you and don't bring your home back to work. Doesn't work. It's not a realistic proposition.
I agree. It's unrealistic expectation because we're not AI,
Exactly.
and we have stuff, and we all bring our stuff with us because it's our stuff, and it shows up, and that impacts our mind and our emotions, which ultimately impacts our behavior and our productivity. And it can even impact the relationships that we have in the workspace.
And that addresses one of those an issue that we'll talk about. I think we have time about what motivates people. What are the true motivators of people in the workforce? And that goes back and addresses exactly one of those motivators. And it's a strong motivator. The
Okay.
ability to, the relationship we have with our peers and our bosses.
Okay. So, Clive, accepting and honoring that we're humans and we're doing this human thing while we're working is a key factor in creating a different work environment, right?
Yes.
Okay, but the only way that that relationship is going to happen is if we get up out of our seats or out of our workspace, whatever it is, and we start mingling.
What's my terminology? What's the term I used for you in those classes? Nothing is going to change unless you get off your anatomy
It's your anatomy. Yes, it is.
and do things different. Yes,
Right. And you even address that in the book. Get
I
off your
did.
anatomy.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that because sometimes we become too complacent and we just expect that everybody's just going to do what they're going to do and they're all hunky-dory fine, and they're not. They're far from it.
That's right. Management by walking around gives you a feel for how things are. And then
Correct.
you know who to let go, and we'll talk about this in the next comment, but the other MBWA, you will know who you can uh, motivate in different ways. Everyone gets motivated in different ways at different times. And that's your job as a manager, as a business owner, is to find out what's motivating people right now, what motivates him or her right now. At this
Right.
point, how do you know that without asking and without mingling and without talking and without truly being interested in them as an employee?
Exactly. Because you can't assess people appropriately if you're not in relationship with them.
Exactly.
And you have no idea what their needs are until you're in relationship with them.
Or you can practice sloppy, lazy management and just pretend everybody's like you.
Oh,
And
that would not be good.
that would not be good. That's the old IBM philosophy.
Right.
How we used to hire at IBM. Got to be
It's
like me.
and it's ineffective.
It is.
It was a great concept in theory, but the application of it was not at all.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we found that out. And it's made
Right.
it to a number of textbooks.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so that was management by walking around, but there's also another MBWA. What's
Exactly.
the other one?
Management by walking away.
I
And
walk.
that addresses the next level, I think, the next level of management, the next level of motivation. It addresses it addresses mentorship and things of that nature. But let's get back to MBWA, management by walking away.
Okay, what is that?
That's one of the management styles I've always ascribed to, I've always aspired to. And that is, I want to be able to trust my people enough where I can turn my backs and let them run with whatever that project is. And that's management. I remember asking supervisors to, when they come to me with a problem, as we all know, supervisors and employees always come to you with problems. I would say, that's interesting. What are you going to do about it? And they, I would have to train them first to understand that when I say, what are you going to do about it? That means I trust that they have the ability to do something about it. But I also trust that they have the knowledge to know if they can or can't, if it's above their head or not. And that means it's implicit that I also have that knowledge. That means I won't practice management by walking away unless I can. Because if I walk away and they don't have the skill or the expertise or the experience or the confidence to handle the project, then I've just set them up for failure. So I've got to make sure that again, that's why I say I aspired to that management principle. Doesn't always work, but that's, to me, that was like an ultimate goal for me to be able to say, management by walking away. What are you going to do about it? Okay, go ahead and do it. Take care of it. Get back to me. Let me know how it works out. That way I feel confident in them enough, and I give them the responsibility and the respect to be able to handle a situation. And I know full well that I haven't abrogated my responsibility. Upper managers always maintain the responsibility, regardless of what goes on at lower levels. So you have to understand it. You can't just say, well, go ahead and do it, and then they not really care whether they fail. You don't want them to fail. You want them to grow. Although, as an aside, sometimes you don't mind them failing if it's going to be a growth situation and they're going to learn from it. But again, as a manager, as a business owner, you have to weigh that factor in. Can I afford them to fail? Do they have the personality? Do they have is it going to affect my business negatively? Sometimes it does in a minimalistic way. And you say, yes, I can afford them to let them fail at this and learn from it. And other times you can't. And you have to let them know that. That's the trick. You have to let them know that I can't afford to let you fail. I want to be able to say, go ahead and run with this. But this is really important. This is critical. This is mission critical. And I'm going to maybe hold your hand away a bit through this. I may need some more feedback. I may be micromanaging you more than I want to, more than you deserve. But in all honesty, I can't let you do that. So I'm going to walk through you with this. And that's really that takes a lot of time and energy and effort as a manager to understand where you are in a relationship. And that addresses management by walking around too. You get to know people. You get to know how they're confident, what their confidence level is. And if they're not confident and failure is going to hurt them psychologically and or going to hurt the company, then you minimize that. You try to minimize that. But other than that, I used to love to say, yeah, go ahead and run with it. Let me know how it works out. That was always what I aspired to say.
Right. There's an empowerment with that, but there are times where there needs to be boundaries put around it, is what you've been saying all along.
Yes.
Because
Again, management by walking away is an excellent tool. It's excellent. It shows that you trust your people and you give them responsibility. And look, he's let me handle it all, and now I failed. So you have to understand that it can be an excellent tool or not,
right,
and you are responsible for the or not part of it, as well as, oh, good, thank you, nice job part of it.
right. So that's the business leader's discernment as to how far can this go, and will it be detrimental to the overall business performance or not, or is it just a setback to create an awareness and move in a new direction?
And as long as you're open, transparent, and you let people know what you're doing, why you're doing it, most people are adults. They're working adults, right? Most
Right.
people understand that. They can relate to that. But too often we do it in a vacuum, and then guess what? The person who either has a great success with it, or worse yet, fails with it, and they don't understand all those intricacies that you've gone through, those mental gyrations that you as a manager have gone through. If they don't understand that, they're going to fill in the blanks, and we as humans always fill in the blanks with negative thoughts. So you have to fill in the blanks for them.
Right.
Because we've all done that, right? When we've been questioning what the hell's going on here, we have a tendency, we as human beings, you, me, I think just about everybody, has a tendency culturally to fill in with negative concepts. That, oh, he didn't trust me, or he didn't hold my hand enough. There's always some reason we can give to say we rationalize ourselves, our own failures. So you as a manager need to get a step above that and be able to walk people through all of that, so they understand what's going on. And when they fail, they understand, hey, my boss is going to support me through this. I could very well have failed, and I did. Now, what did I learn from it?
Right. Right. So management by walking around, great practice. You really can't screw that one up.
Not unless you don't listen.
Right. You
and
don't
not,
listen.
and not unless you don't mean it, that you're not really truly interested.
Okay. So being genuine and listening.
Exactly.
Okay.
Take notes. Take notes.
Take notes. Okay. Good tip. Take notes.
We have to
And
get back to them sooner or later.
okay. And then the second MBWA is management by walking away, which is a great aspiration. And it involves more of us as the business leader to go ahead and make sure that we are truly aware of the magnitude of what we're doing at that point.
That's right.
And making sure that it's the right opportunity, minimize the risk so it's not impacting, as you said, I love that, mission control.
Mission critical.
I'm sorry, mission critical. Yes, I wrote it down and I still said it wrong. Mission critical, and creating a space for people to have a learning experience. Beautiful.
That's right. People want, number one motivational tool, according to Frederick Herzberg. That's one of the things, if we have time, we'll talk about, is achievement, a sense of achievement. Now, you just think about that. You, me, and just about everybody else I know. No, again, I always, in the book, I talked about never, ever use absolutes. And here I use an absolute, right? And this is one of the reasons why. But most people really like it when we have a sense of achievement. We want to do a good job.
Right.
And this addresses some of that. It also addresses trust issues and some of the other motivational factors.
So we only have like 3 more minutes to crack open a topic, but let's talk about a motivator.
Yeah. Well, the prime motivator is money. And as we talked about before, ha, ha, ha.
Ha ha
Because
ha 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 ha.
culturally, we're inundated with that prime motivator being money. Show me the money. We got movies about it, and people talk about it all the time. I can't tell you how many times I went to give. In my last position, one of the things that we would do is it was a union shop, and we would like to give merit. We had kind of a backdoor merit system with a union contract where we gave and usually our merit was 25 cents an hour, maybe 50 cents. And sometimes we gave $1 an hour. Just depends on the situation. And I remember going in to talk to people, and I'm giving them 25 cents an hour. And I can't remember, I forgot what that equated to every year, but it was substantial every year. But still, people would just laugh and look at you funny and say, stick that 25 cents and forget that. And they just don't understand it. I said, wait a minute, I'm giving you more money here. There's so many stories about how money actually demotivates more than it motivates. And I think that's a blog for another time. But it really does, when you think about it, and I'll give you one example of myself, a prime example of me. I remember one of my first management roles, and I was an assistant manager, and then they promoted me to or assistant supervisor, and then they promoted me to supervisor. And I was waiting for this because I kind of took a cut in pay to get this job. Again, money not being the prime motivator for me.
Right.
I took pay to get the job, but I knew long term that it would eventually get me more money and more respect and more responsibility and recognition and all those things that I wanted, like most of us do. And sure enough, they came and said, "Oh, we're going to promote you, and we got you." And I remember the day, I was just feeling kind of down. It was a nice sunny day, but I'm waiting for this promotion. They finally came through with it, 17.5%. And I walked around the floor. Oh boy, my chest was puffed, my head was swelled. Boy, do they think highly of me. 17.5%. Finally, I'm making what I expected to be making. And you know what? That motivated me for 6 months, because 6 months later, I remember thinking, they don't pay me enough to work here. And that was a pretty big motivational tool, 17.5% back in those days. This was in the 70s. And I was riding high for about 6 months. Now, you think back at your last pay raise, and I would say this in classes, classes of 20 students, working adults, and I'd ask them to think about their last pay raise, and how many of you did that motivate, whatever that pay raise was? And you get 2 hands go up, and the rest of them, no, it didn't motivate me at all. In fact, many of them it demotivated. Well, I'm worth more than this, and that doesn't even get to the fact that money is the least amount of what we have to give out, right? Money is the most limited factor, and just about all the other things our research shows motivates us more than money. But yet our culture keeps demanding more and more money, and that's a critical thing for managers to overcome. To know the fact that it doesn't motivate like everyone thinks it does, the people that are asking for more money. So you have to be strong enough and knowledgeable enough to know, okay, you can ask for more, but I'm only going to be giving you what I can afford to give you anyway. And then trust in the studies and trust in the fact that all these other things really motivate people more than money does, and give them that. And eventually, money in their minds you'll change the culture. And you have to do that one department, one business at a time.
Okay. So next time in your next podcast, let's talk about the motivators.
Yeah.
Okay, because I
It's a
think
real important thing for me. I that's one of the things I just keyed in on in all the classes that I had, like yours, and all the
yes,
teaching that I did, like yours. I
yes,
I felt that was one of the strongest things I had to stress, because it just, when you think about it and you do the studies, it just makes so much common sense. You
it
don't have
does.
control over the money.
And I'm sitting here just with a big smile on my face because I feel like I'm sitting back in one of your classrooms hearing it. Not for the first time, but getting really clear on it because it's time for a refresher, right? It's always time for a refresher. So I want to thank you for that. We are going to take this further in our next conversation. So I have good notes here as to where we'll pick up next time.
Great.
Yeah, and I'd love for you to keep going, but our time is tight today. So listeners, this is how you can learn more and engage with #1 best-selling business author Clive, Extence. Start by reading chapter 3 in the book Brilliant Breakthroughs for the Small Business Owner, Volume 2. That's with the emerald green cover. And then go a step further and access on your mobile device our free app where it has everything about the book and how to get a hold of it and Clive by going to the Books app in your app store and type in Brilliant Biz Book, all one word, Brilliant Biz Book. And the reason why I'm encouraging you to do that is because we have all of our podcasts there. And if you like what you're hearing, you can go ahead and check out some of the previous podcasts that Clive has been so generous to, dare I say, school us on. But here's what's really neat is we have a feature that's called Ask an Expert on our app. And you can go ahead and find Clive's name, click on it, and type in your question. You can send him a question, and he'll respond back to you. So it's a pretty cool access point for you small business owners to be directly with Clive as well as the rest of our authoring team. And again, that's at your app store, Brilliant Biz Book, all one word. Clive, I want to thank you today for your time and your wisdom sharing and getting that professor mode going.
Can you tell? I miss it.
We can tell, and I'm so glad that we get to benefit from that. So listeners, we appreciate you listening to the Brilliant Breakthroughs podcast, where you learn about how to create more brilliant breakthroughs for your small business. Shine brightly until next week.